He is talking here in this portion, these universal forces, complete, absolute, divine, these are the gods. They are emanations of the Supreme. They have to be there to see to it that the divine plan is being worked out. Therefore, they are not disturbed by what happens before the fulfillment of that plan, the errors, the difficulties, the sufferings that we go through. It is not for them to come down to our level, hold our hand, show us the way. They simply are there as representatives of the divine, you might say, purpose and plan. They are, as he calls them, overseers of fate. They have to see. And therefore, these heed not the deceiving outward play. They remain almost indifferent. That is what gives to us sometimes the feeling that however much you may pray or call a divinity, you get no response. Because for these forces, it is not for them to respond. It is just to be there. They are embodiments of different principles, the principle of love, of light, of truth, of power, of knowledge, of peace. If they come down to our level, they are almost, they betray the role they have been created for. So, these heed not the deceiving outward play. So you see, the outward play is temporary, it's a deception. We believe in what's happening on the outside. And that's why we get misled. We don't see what is at work behind the surface. That is not the outward play, but the true purpose. The plan, the working out of evolution, of change, of growth goes on. It doesn't stop. But we get swept away by surface, you might say, expressions, manifestations. So they heed not. They are not disturbed. They turn not to the moment's busy tramp, but listen with the still patience of the unborn. The unborn are the gods. The unborn are the eternal. The unborn is also that which has not yet manifested itself in the outward plane. They are eternal. They can wait for eternity to see that the outer world of expression is actually an expression of the Supreme's conscious will. At present, if we look at the world around it, it doesn't seem so. And the more the pressure of their presence increases, the more the resistance, the revolt, the churning from below seem to become stronger. So you have more violence, more disturbances, but that is also part of the play. They have to come up to the surface before they can be truly, completely thrown out. So that is why even when there is on the outside a play of forces of darkness or ugliness or violence or all the rest, they don't get disturbed. We do. We say, what is mother doing? Why is this happening? This should not be allowed to happen. She is doing her work because this is mother's work. Because mother is the force that works out his plan. He plans, she executes, she works out. She has to go through all these things. She knows what are the stages, and there are stages where the more her force increases as it is, the more the opposition to the force seems to come up from below. Until then, this moment today, for instance, is a very special period where a new power has come down and manifested itself. The old powers are threatened. They fight. They have their back to the wall. They don't want to go away. Whereas earlier, say 100 years ago, there was a certain sense of maybe outward harmony or a kind of a play of you might say something that is very good, the outward religious movements, and they seem to be so peaceful, so quiet, and you say, this is a beautiful world, where all the dirt is still under the surface. It's all coming up. Now, this is the slow footsteps of far destiny. They come up slowly, approaching through huge distances of time. She is willing to work forever, almost. The new force, the new consciousness has descended. But before that consciousness can really manifest itself, the receptacle, which is the earth consciousness, has to be made ready, has to be made clean, has to be made strong. And somebody asked Mother, how long will it take before the earth can truly manifest the new supramental consciousness? She said soon, very soon. So he asked, how soon is soon? She said about 500 years, perhaps. See, it's a different sense of time. So they approach. The new age is approaching, there's no doubt, with the slow footsteps of far destiny, approaching through huge distances of time, unmarked by the eye that sees effect and cause. The eye that sees effect and cause is the eye of reason, of logic, of our intellectual, you might say, philosophical mind. That is where all things get trapped in the narrowness of the mental movement. Vast truths get caught into formulas, and each statement has its consequence. And you say, he's got a very clear philosophical mind. Philosophy is not spirituality. You have to live the truth. It's not enough to have the mind telling you what is happening. You have to go through it. When you experience it, well, it's completely a different, you might say, play. It's slow, it takes long, it works its way through. You have to break down resistances. Then you realize what resistances we have inside us, the opposition that is there. And they have to be really broken down. We can't do it. She's doing it for us at every step. So she has to be really constantly at work. It always reminds me of the difference that I felt when Mother left her physical body. You could see how much she had done on her face, in her body, the effort, you might almost call it suffering, but I don't know if I should say that she had knowingly accepted to go through. Instead, when you saw Sri Aurobindo's body, when he was on the bed in the 5th of December 1950, it was something that was simply glorious. There was not the faintest sign of outward pain, though he had physically also he was going through some kind of a medical difficulty. It did not show. All his life had not been outwardly easy. He had been in prison, he had gone through starvation, he had gone through all kinds of difficulties. None of it showed. It was simply glorious. It was a body that was completely golden and beautiful. So you have that notion of the supreme, the absolute, the untouched, the one who is untouched by time, untouched by any of the effects that you would say should be the effect of causes that he has gone through, causes of suffering. It didn't show. Whereas you saw it in her life. At least I did. And I felt so unworthy of how, and by then I was older. When I saw Sri Aurobindo, I was a child. By then I was older. And I really felt so unworthy how much she has done, she's still doing, and how little we recognize the struggle, the suffering. We just lived almost automatically. So these unmarked by the eye that sees effect and cause, unheard mid the clamour of the human plane, attentive to an unseen truth, these forces, attentive to an unseen truth, they seize a sound as of invisible auger wings. Auger is, those kind of prophetic expressions that tell you, if you have the ability to hear, the future manifestation. This was part of the occult symbology in certain ancient mysteries, the flight of the bird. Sri Aurobindo often uses the image of the bird as representing the soul. The soul is like a bird. We have put it in a cage deep within us. It has really not been allowed by our outer surface crust of ignorant pride and ego it has not been allowed to come out into the open. But when it does, it spreads its wings. It's, you see, the flight from below in all directions, upwards, to the heights, around into the universe, within, to take you into the inner depths. This power and energy of that bird, it is the spirit. The spirit, the soul, is often described as a bird. But these, if their wings are not spread out, then you don't even know you have a bird inside you. You don't know you have a soul. But these forces know that this bird is slowly emerging. The spirit is slowly coming out. It will spread its wings. It will manifest itself in the world around us. Voices of an unplumbed significance. Against another image, to plumb is to measure the depth. So these sounds or voice is a projection of sound, conscious force. A conscious sound is when you utter a word. When you just make a sound, it's just energy. When you utter it in the form of a word, you give that energy a significance. So it becomes conscious force. What is the power of the conscious force that is at work? We don't even have the ability to hear that voice, let alone the significance, the infinitely profound significance. We can't measure the depth of the forces that are at work below the surface. Mutterings that brood in the core of matter's sleep. So you have the wings in your heart, behind your heart. You have the projection of conscious widening of your mind. And even in the world of matter, which seems inert, which seems dead, unresponsive, there also the first breaking out of the consciousness that slowly, very gradually emerges. Because the resistance in matter, which takes the form of inertia, that is naturally part of the world of matter. So the mutterings, the opening of the consciousness is much slower in the world of matter. That doesn't mean it's not at work. In fact, it starts there. All evolution starts from below. Everything is present. And even the working of the universal evolution and Shakti starts from the inconscient. It gives rise to matter, and then to life, and then to mind, and then much more than mind. It's continuous, but its origin is matter. And so we have always, in the ancient mystic knowledge, which Sri Aurobindo also draws from in his early cantos, this Upanishadic knowledge. You have the knowledge of the divine force that is working in the world of matter. Parvati is the daughter of the mountain. It is as if in the stone the mother is there. And when she connects with the Supreme Consciousness, then you have the possibility of a new manifestation. Sita was one who was found in the ground. So again the image of a conscious force, the mother power, that is the source of all new life, new power. So matter is not dead. Matter is the source of all forces. But they remain unmanifest because we don't recognize, we don't turn to this, we don't believe in this. It waits. But they can hear, these forces know, it is at work. In the heart's profound audition, at the back of your heart is your psychic being. So that is where Mother says, go deep into your heart and you will find me already there. She's waiting. You turn deep, deep inside you. The presence is there, the divine presence is there. In the heart's profound audition, they can catch the murmurs lost by life's uncaring ear. Life, our surface vital being, which is turned outwards. So it's like as if we have two, you might say, sometimes Aurobindo calls it two souls. You have the surface soul, which is actually your sense of the surface personality, body, life, mind, which you call I, which you call yourself, which is your ego actually. And behind it is the true I, the true person, which is behind the heart, deep within the whole body, this is the matter, and right at the source of all your mental forces, because mind is, eventually you realize, mind is whatever it is a projection of light. In our ordinary understanding, mind is a dividing power, so we see a little light and we have to contrast light from darkness, truth from falsehood, divide everything. But even so, it is seeking for truth in its own way. So these faculties that we have originate from the fact that that presence is there. We can't look for something that we completely don't know anything about. If I'm looking for perfection, and man wants perfection, man likes immortality, man likes to be completely free from all bondages, he cannot be that unless some part in him already knows that such a thing exists. You can't ask for something that you don't know exists. So we know this exists. Where does it exist? Within us. The whole universe exists inside me. That's why I want to universalize my consciousness. But you see, we have this dividing faculty of mind which says, no, if this is so, that cannot be so. So this is being replaced by a prophet speech. It's not a thought. Prophet speech is a projection. Speech is always a projection of your inner working, whether your expression, your experience, your thought, but not a mind speech here. Prophet speech, prophet is a seer. Prophet is not a thinker. A prophet is not a judge. A prophet knows because he sees, because he is. So the prophet's speech in thought's omniscient trance. Behind the world of thought, that light is there. And that is why in the course of Jnana Yoga, the first thing you are trained to acquire is complete mental silence. When the mind stops agitating it all the time, going here and there, then the truth emerges. Otherwise, all these waves of thought keep on coming on the surface. In the depths, there is always silence in the ocean. On the surface, you have all the waves. Well, our life is like that. So thought has to go into a state of trance. of deep inner silence. Above the illusion of the hopes that pass. This is what our vital nature. Today you want that, tomorrow you want something else. Hope is that which attracts you towards something you are not. It's an attraction in the distance that this is perhaps what I want, which may often take the form of a desire, and desire tells you once you have got it, you say, it's not this I wanted, I wanted something else. It keeps on changing all the time. So it's, I wanted this, no, not anymore, now I want something more. So it's an illusion, it's not, it doesn't have a stable, solid reality. Above the illusion of the hopes that pass, behind the appearance and the overt act, behind this clockwork chance, it's a very unusual phrase, behind this clockwork chance and vague surmise. What is this clockwork chance? Chance is something you say happens without your being, without expecting it. It comes. Well, nothing is really, I did not expect something to happen, so I called it happen by chance. But nothing happens by chance. There is no such thing as chance. Because I am ignorant, I have used this word. So, but everything has its own rhythm, has its own pattern, has its own sequence. In every plane, this is there. Sri Aurobindo gives a great deal of importance to rhythm, pattern, movement. Nothing is erratic. So even the word chance is part of the consequence of certain forces, of the clash of the powers of ignorance, a great deal of ignorance, a great deal of indiscipline, and at the same time, the working of the divine goes on. So it will not stop. I try to understand it vaguely. I draw my conclusions, but I can never be sure. I'm saying Mother is at work, but actually I haven't seen that. I'm speaking words I have read, but I personally am not going through that experience at every moment in all things. This is why, even though I have a total faith in her, I can't say I participate in her work. I should, I try, but can I really say I am that? No, at least I can't. Therefore, amid the wrestle of force, the trampling feet, across the cries of anguish and of joy. So you have a description of the play of opposite forces, which is our world, which is our life. Across the...
What does surmise mean?
Kind of, you vaguely have a... It's not exactly guesswork, but you assume that something is more or less this. Probably it is that. They watch. What are they waiting for, these forces? When will their task be over? They watch the bliss for which Earth's heart has cried. They watch here is they wait for. They are waiting for that. Through all the wrestle of forces that we are going through, actually what is the thing that we and all Earth wants is a perfect ananda, perfect peace, joy, beauty, love. That is what we all want. And they see to it that this has to be perfect. And if they are true to their task, they will not allow a lesser joy to say, now you're happy, you've got what you want. We have to wait for that absolute before we say the divine manifestation has fully expressed itself. The divine consciousness is at work. The manifestation is still in the process of happening. And that's why we still cry. They say it will happen. It is working, it will take its time. So, on the long road, which cannot see its end, winding undetected through the skeptic days, the mind is doubtful it will ever happen. So you get the idea that I have to leave this world to find that world of beauty and perfection. If I have to find Mother or Sri Aurobindo, I have to give up this earthly life. No. They have made this too. They have made this for manifesting themselves in the earthly existence. Why should the world of earth and man be cut off from its origin? This is the world of the divine as well. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. All this is the habitation of the Lord. Do we recognize it? We have to make the habitation fit for manifesting that power. And this present, you might say, manifestation is still unfit. It's far from perfect. So it has to be slowly, it has to become, and that is the whole point, we have to become what we are. It has to become that. And so, how do we become that perfection? They are there. These forces, they are there simply by not helping. It's like a standard, say, of gold. People like gold. Gold is often the symbol in the spiritual language of the supreme, the divine. Now you want a golden ring or bracelet, it looks golden. It is not. It's dipped in gold, or it will slowly deteriorate. But that absolute will not come down to your level. You want pure gold, you have to reach out to that. You have to change your nature to touch that gold. Either you have to become wealthier spiritually, you have to become stronger, and then you are capable of manifesting that light, that golden truth. And that is how they help. They help by not physically helping, just by being there. And then this whole passage that follows, it is really mantric. Thus will the masked transcendent mount his throne. Because the transcendent is above, is beyond. The transcendent is below, but is masked. You don't see him. Now he has to become the ruler that is evidently mastering the universe. We can't see that. He is always there. Therefore you think, if I reach the transcendent, I go away from the world, I leave life behind, I leave my body behind. No. He is there in every cell of my being, whether it's the cell of my body or every particle or part of my nerves and feelings and emotions. Everything should become a manifestation of him. For that, there has to be a long, difficult victory that we have to win over all the opposite forces. They are there. The forces are there. And the forces that guide are also there. So it's, as Mother put it very simply when she was giving little sentences for children in the kindergarten also, she used to say this, that the mountain path moves in two directions. All depends on what you turn your back to. You turn your back to the mud below, you look at the sun above. You turn your back to the sun above, and you see the truth of the dirt below. It all depends. So man has to choose. Man often does not make the right choice. They wait. Eventually he will have to make the right choice. So thus will the masked transcendent mount his throne. Creation is his throne. When darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, and man's corporeal mind is the only lamp, as a thief's in the night shall be the covert tread of one who steps unseen into his house. A voice ill-heard shall speak, the soul obey, a power into mind's inner chamber steal, a charm and sweetness open life's closed doors, and beauty conquer the resisting world. The truth light capture nature by surprise. A stealth of God compel the heart to bliss, and earth grow unexpectedly divine. In matter shall be lit the Spirit's glow. In body and body kindled the sacred birth. Night shall awake to the anthem of the stars. The days become a happy pilgrim march. Our will a force of the eternal's power, and thought the rays of a spiritual sun. A few shall see what none yet understand. God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep, for man shall not know the coming till its hour, and belief shall be not till the work is done. So, today if I don't believe, this has been told, that this earthly life can become a divine life, the life divine. You say, it's very beautiful, but it's not possible. The divine is at work very quietly. He uses an image here, as the thieves in the night shall be the covert tread of one, of the divine, who steps into his house. And there's a slight reference, I think, to that story of Nicodemus in the Bible. There is a reference to Nicodemus, who was a Pharisee. The Pharisees were the pundits, you can say, the ones who used to analyze the Jewish religion. And when Christ came and he used to give his sermons, and people used to flock to listen to him, though he never raised his voice, they could all hear him. And he used to speak of love and brotherhood and forgiveness, whereas the God the Pharisees spoke of was an angry God, was a jealous God, a God who would punish and whose commandments were very stern. And here was a being quite different, a being of love. And so the Pharisees had decided that he should be completely eliminated, because nobody will listen to us. So one day Nicodemus was a Pharisee. He went in the evening to listen to the sermon of Christ, which used to take place on the outskirts of the town. And he was completely overtaken by the kind of gentleness and strength that he spoke. So that night after the sermon, Christ was supposed to be walking on the terrace of the house in which he was staying. And Nicodemus went in to meet Christ in the dark, because he didn't want anybody else to know that he was going to meet Christ. He was supposedly the enemy of the Pharisees. Nicodemus went there as a thief in the night. As a thief in the night, and there he made his surrender. He recognized the divine, and he offered all his so-called wisdom and knowledge. He's a pandit, and that does not really count at all when he recognized the light, the truth, the love, the sense of forgiveness that Christ embodied. So he went quietly and he met him in the dark. So there are some suggestions of this. Of one who steps unseen into his house. You realize that the divine love is our home. The divine truth is our home. Though we don't want to admit it. A voice ill heard shall speak. The mind will not allow us to admit the truth of these words, the words of Aurobindo, for instance, who says, the earthly life shall become the life divine. The thinking man will say, not at all. This cannot be. The earth is the opposite of heaven. If you want a divine life, go to heaven. If you want to be on the earth, accept the earthly life. Why should the two be opposites? They are both expressions of the same origin. The soul accepts, the mind does not. When the power steals quietly in spite of ourselves, often this change takes place in spite of ourselves. Especially if you have a developed personality and consciousness, you take a much longer time to change. The Pandit could not change easily. The average ordinary carpenter and fisherman could change. They did not have an argumentative nature, so they were drawn to the Lord. But a thinking man who is very conscious of that he is a thinking man and is a very wise man, he would not change. But in spite of it, it steals into our mind's inner chamber. That inner chamber is the seat of light. And a charm and sweetness open in the world of mind, that is an opening to light. In the world of life, a charm and sweetness open life's closed doors. Because life has opened itself to the outward vital experience. Inside us, there is sweetness, the divine presence. One of the names of the divine in Sanskrit is Madhu. Sweetness, honey. It is the essence of the honey, of the honeycomb. Is that the essence of this world is a honeycomb. At the core is the honey. And that is what is truly charm. Charm is a kind of power of transformation. It's magic. That's the real meaning. They don't, something that somebody has put a spell on you, he has the ability to charm you, to change you, without any external, you might say, imposition of rules and laws. You change, we don't know at which point you changed, and you don't know at which point you surrendered to the divine, even though you had come from far away and it says, I'm not going to accept a person who talks of the supramental, I've never heard about it. That person may go and kneel down in front of the mother and be completely, would break down often, is to sob. The truth light capture nature by surprise. So you had the heart, the mind, and the outer nature. Outer nature cannot live without light, but it is half light. The truth light is the supramental consciousness, the truth consciousness. Truth light capture nature by surprise. And the stealth of God, God would steal in quietly without making much, outward noise and drama. Compel the heart to bliss, because some part in our heart, in our life, we love our sorrow. Mother had said that, you love sorrow. That is why you haven't got rid of it. We had thousands of years to overcome sorrow, but we have never overcome sorrow because we are attached to it. We like to complain, we like to suffer, which is why we do. Because there is a sense of, it gives you a sense of being very special, very different. Your suffering, your pain gives you an identity. If you could just say, I am in the hands of the Lord. I'm just being carried forward. He can push me into the depths, or He can lift me to the heights of the waves of bliss. It's up to Him. No, I am me, and things have to be according to my acceptance and my nature, and things are not. So I have all the time in the world to sit and weep and complain, and I think that is wonderful. Man loves melancholy. That is the whole problem. But the heart will be someday compelled to bliss, and earth grow unexpectedly divine. When the human nature gives up its ego, the outer nature, the outer mind, the outer life, and the outer material sheath, and realizes that within him he is a manifestation of the divine. Everything is a manifestation of the divine. Nothing is which is not divine. And when I realize it, then that's the beginning of the new existence. In matter shall be lit the Spirit's glow. The Spirit is already present. It has to be lit. The consciousness of the divine is already there in us. We have to be lit. We have to have that spark of aspiration, of faith, of surrender, to become what we really are, to manifest that which we really are. In body and body, kindle the sacred birth. That is the new birth. When we are reborn into our true selves, night shall awake to the anthem of the stars. Night is the field of darkness. Well, night is the field of the stars. You can't see stars. And there are thousands and millions of them. And they're all, each one in its own place. There is no clash. There is only harmony. Harmony is anthem is a form of harmony. They all sing the glory of the Lord. They all perform their own functions. It is to bring light to the world of darkness. This is what they do. The days also in our daily life, every day should bring us a little closer to the divine. It's an opportunity for the Spirit. Life is an opportunity for the Spirit. Our will, a force of the eternal's power. We think the ego is all powerful. We are nothing. We are instruments of the Lord. It is the divine who makes use of us, or he might not make use of us. A musical instrument is without any value as long as it is the violin, as long as it is kept inside its box. It's only when it's brought out and we allow the musician to make use of this instrument, then it can really express the harmony it was meant to express. Man is that instrument. He has to allow the divine to play on him. And he plays his music, not what I call music, what he calls music. And thought, the rays of a spiritual sun, not the mental sun. The mind has not even a sun, it's a moon. Usually the moon is the symbol of the mind. It receives light from elsewhere. No, mind becomes completely receptive to a higher light. It transmits a higher light. This will happen someday. A few shall see what none yet understands. God, the manifestation of the Supreme, shall grow up because it is there in seed form. That presence is there. It will slowly grow. That consciousness will grow. While the philosophers and the thinkers and the so-called intellectuals will speak and give lectures, as I am doing, and that's when you talk you're still in ignorance and you're talking of something you really have not experienced, so you talk and sleep, like sleep talking. For man shall not know the coming till its hour. Mental man will not know until a day will come. It is there in one of Mother's New Year messages. A day will come when the most ignorant, the most blind, even the most hostile will have to accept the coming of the new consciousness and manifest it. And belief shall be not till the work is done. It's a very marvelous passage. So we stop there?